Hey, cool kids. Welcome back to the Cool Grandpa podcast. As you can tell, my voice is getting better. Not perfect yet, but that's okay. We're on the mend. So that's great. We've got summer coming up just right around the corner. So, all things are good here. This week's guest is Michael Allison. Now, Michael is a person that has just a great story. Now, we're going to hear about Michael's journey from being an immigrant from Jamaica, joining the Marines, going through school, playing football. I guess he played football and went through school before the Marines, but we'll figure that out as we go. He was a project manager, and he's now a leadership coach and a keynote speaker. So Michael has got a lot of wisdom that has been really kind of both given to him and shared with him through mentors that we are going to hear. And he's also just had some hard fought wisdom like we all have, right? So this will be a great conversation with Michael. Please do me a favor and like and subscribe to the Cool Grandpa podcast on YouTube. That's a great way and a fun way to grow this program, as well as giving you a chance to watch me interact with the amazing guests that choose to share their wisdom, share their experiences with us. So without further ado, let's jump into this conversation with Michael. Hi, Michael. Welcome to the Cool Grandpa podcast. I'm excited to have you on and get a chance to talk with you.
Man, Greg, thank you so much for having me here, man. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah. I'm going to enjoy this conversation with you because we got so many things that are, I think, mutual interests that this is definitely going to be a fun conversation.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it, man.
I would like to start out a little bit about hearing your upbringing, coming over to Miami and kind of your growing up time, because I know Miami wasn't where you started out.
No, absolutely not, man. So I was born in Jamaica then before I even came to the United States, but I came here about like 8 years old, and we landed in Overtown, one of like the roughest neighborhoods you could ever think about with Miami, Florida, man. And so it was kind of like a bit of a challenge for us. I will say back in Jamaica though, man, we went through a hurricane, went through a flood, kind of left us homeless, where your parents is trying to struggle and try to figure things because some of those things left us in bad situations, left us in a shelter, left us homeless, left us trying to navigate life and try to figure things out. Also, when we came to America, obviously we speak patois, so we don't speak American English. So there was a barrier and a challenge there too, just trying to get acclimated when you come to America. So for myself, trying to like ingratiate myself, trying to deal with kids and stuff in school, man, you had to deal with a whole bunch of stuff when it comes to like the bullying, being overlooked, or just even being underestimated, man. And that's really some of the things that actually help drive me now today. When you look at like things around adversity and challenges and things like that, to actually fuel me now. You know, Miami's rough, man. And then you come into America and you trying to like get acclimated. Some of those things really truly taught you what it's like to actually have some grit, some resilience, and some of those things that actually turn from your pain to the purpose with what I love to do now today with speaking with people, man.
That's awesome. Now, I know we kind of communicated a little bit before this, but I know your grandfather had kind of an influence with you, and I'd love for you to introduce him, give us his name, tell us about your relationship with your grandfather.
So interesting enough, I had two grandfathers, and both of their names were Vincent, right? So back in those days, I guess that was a common name for everybody during those times. So my first grandfather, Vincent, he was actually from London, England. And, he was a doctor back in those days and those times, and had tons of respect for him in regards to some of the knowledge and the wisdom that he shared with me as a kid. And he was the one that actually gave me my nickname, Omar. And my other grandfather, he was from Cuba, and his name was Vincent too as well. And he came to Jamaica, and his family came here on a boat back in around 1910. And he was a contractor, and he helped build quite a few different houses in Jamaica, but he also built the house that my mom and dad actually currently lives in now today, man. But those two guys were some phenomenal inspiration in my life that actually helped guided me, shaped my identity, created some standards of some things that I could live by today as a man.
Yeah. And what was some of your earliest memories with the Vincents?
Yeah, man. So let me tell you this. So my grandfather from Cuba, when I was there younger as a kid, he also saw that I was someone that was very inquisitive, someone that was always like looking and observing, as like I'm always someone that's always seeking for knowledge. And being around him, he saw that. So he always just came up to me, was always showing me, this is how you build a house. These are some of the things that in regards to like creating a foundation of things. And I truly I respected that from him, because it really taught me the true definition of like what is hard work, what is discipline, what is being a man of your word, how to treat your employees, how to treat people that is working for you, how to stand up to any conflicts or situations on the job sites. Because I was there watching them, seeing him interact, and seeing him how to lead people and how to lead his team, but also seeing it from a different standpoint too of like when you actually put something together and in regards to like building a house and putting a structure together, the outcome of that could actually look like. Appreciated him doing that. He was not someone that was always going to be kind of like a huggy, kissy type of grandfather type of person, but more so just kind of like this is what hard work looks like. This is how things are done through a fundamental standpoint. And my grandfather, that was from England, Vincent, he was more so the one that was always into like the books and the reading and the education. So he was always pushing that in regards to like, hey, make sure you go to school, make sure you get good grades, make sure you show respect, make sure you show honor, make sure you show up on time, make sure you're a man of your word, those types of things. And those are some of the fondest memories I could always think about him. I always see him on the porch. Sometimes he'll either have a cup of coffee. If it's not a cup of coffee, he'd probably have a Guinness stout or a red stripe beer from back in those days. But he always has a book in his hand reading around those times, man.
That's awesome. And it's great that it sounds like you got that balance of hard skills, soft skills,
Yeah,
between the
definitely.
two.
Definitely. They taught me all those things, man. And now I get to use some of those things. And now I kind of like to play with both of them because they help complement me now as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And how did your relationship with your grandfathers change as you were getting older?
It changed as I got older. Here's the thing. So as we transitioned to America back in those times in the 80s and the 90s, we just had house phones, right? So they stayed and lived in Jamaica. In regards to regular communication, it was not like we have now today with your FaceTimes or your text messaging or any of those things. It was more so either us writing letters back and forth. People still write letters back in those days. Maybe your weekly Sunday conversation after your Sunday dinner with your family. And it was more so just kind of like checking on you, making sure that you're okay. From time to time, they would say, hey, let me send you a pair of shoes. Let me send you some money, those types of things, just to make sure that you're fine. But also just making sure that your overall well-being is good. So in regards to that, obviously the distance came between us, but more so the communication standpoint was always from an overarching standpoint, just making sure that you're okay, making sure that you're always going to be in a good space. And I love that, especially from a grandparent standpoint, because you can also see those are some of the things that they kind of implemented into my mom and dad too, as well, in regards to them growing up.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love that you brought up that you still had that relationship, because I think sometimes grandfathers and grandmas too can feel that when kids are away from grandkids are living away from us, that our influence isn't quite there. But it sounds like they had a lot of influence, even though you were, I don't know, what is that, 500 miles away?
Yeah, man, they were always a big influence, man, no matter the distance or anything like that. Once someone has created a bond with you or a connection with you, that always going to be ingrained with you, and it becomes a fabric part of your DNA, no matter where you go, no matter where you're at. To this day now with my own son, I still tell him stories about my grandpa. I still tell him stories about my dad. We're riding in the car and I'm still sharing stories with them because of the impact that it made on me. They both have passed away now, and I could still remember my last days with him when he was in the home that he was in. And when my other grandfather passed away, I remember just talking to him a couple weeks before he passed away too, as well. But having that bond and having that connection, and also it was kind of neat and unique as I'm here sharing the story with you, was that my son now had a chance to meet both of my grandfathers. So he had a chance to see them, but he was young at the time, a little bit of a baby at the time. So he took pictures with them. So he got a chance to see some of the pictures of what they look like and kind of like see that trend. And it's kind of cool because I named my son Omar. So I kind of tell him the story that my grandfather named me Omar, and you now are carrying that name Omar too as well.
Well, that's awesome, and that's such a great memory, because I have that with my sons as well. Is we were able to go to my grandfather's farm, and even though they were little kids, I've got pictures of them and my grandfather on the front porch, just like when I was a little kid.
Right.
And they got to see the fields that we used to ride motorcycles through and do some different things. So at least there's some records of that, and they did have an opportunity to meet. And I think it meant something to my grandfather to meet the great grandchildren and go like, hey, Greg's not that big of a screw up. He's actually turned out all right.
Yeah, man, I think that's a cool part of the connection, and your kids get to see what it's like to be part of your family lineage, because if most of us do not capture the moments in regards to like the pictures or just being in the moment and being present and being intentional, you'll miss some of those things, man, that creates the beauty of what it's actually like to create that that inspiration that comes from your grandparents. And that was a cool thing for us. I made it a point to actually bring my son. He was born here in America, in Florida, and I made it a point to bring him to Jamaica so he could see where I grew up. So he saw what that was like. Had a chance to introduce him to his great grandfather, so he got a chance to see what they were like, take pictures with them, interact with them, and just know what it was like just growing up in the country. Because in Miami, it was completely totally different. So just see what it was like and see where his dad actually came from. So I thought that was pretty cool, and for us to take pictures and capture that was the coolest moment. My family always teased me like, "You're always taking pictures. You're always taking pictures." And in my mind, I'm a visionary type of person, so I always have the foresight of like, what is this gonna look like? What memory is it gonna channel 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, those types of things. Because for me, if it's never been captured, never been written down, then nobody will ever remember, nobody will ever know. And for me, to be quite honest, besides my two grandfathers, I know nobody else. I don't remember anyone else. So that's why it's so important for me to capture those moments and capture those times.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's really important that we do that. And we're so lucky because you and I are not age-wise, aren't that far off. But remember when you would buy the cameras and 12 rolls of 12 exposures, right? So you had to make every picture count. And when you developed the film and like 6 of those 12 were blurry and whatever, we got upset. But now we got the phones and we have these different things. So it's like, why not just go ahead and shoot? And you can always edit and save what you want, but at least you have those memories.
Absolutely, man. I think I kept Kodak in business, man. Whenever I used to travel on those trips, I used to carry at least about 2 or 3 Kodak disposables. And whenever I used to come back, I used to just get those film done and prepared just so I could just put them in. I used to keep photo albums. I don't keep photo albums though anymore. I actually had to take it to a place here that takes your photo pictures and transcribe them for you to be digitally now. But back in those days, man, I had tons of photo albums just to capture those pictures, man.
But yeah, I love it. Well, and now that I've got some grandkids that are getting a little bit older, those are the ones you can pull out and go, hey, look at this car and look at this and see how we used to do things. And, isn't grandpa's hair funny?
Yeah, man, definitely, man. I think those are the moments that we get to live for, man. I told my son this the other day too, man. I said, when you get to be my age, and me just saying that is kind of like what my parents used to say to me, when you get to be my age, that's saying. But it was important to share with him. I said, now you'll have these pictures to share with your family, to share with your kids, to share with your wife, because we never know what life is going to bring us. And for him to have those moments and for him to have access to it too as well. A lot of people sometimes, if the photos nowadays aren't digital, you got to go search through grandpa's chest. You got to search under the bed, hidden places, and all of these different things, man. So nowadays, with things being digital and accessible, it makes it much more easier.
For sure. For sure. I want to pivot over a little bit and talk to you about your experience with some other older mentors, maybe as you were going through high school, coaches that stood out, people that came along and helped you out through some of your challenges going through high school and then the Marine Corps.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Besides my grandfather, the most powerful and influential people in my life were quite a few people, man. And the first one I share with you was a pastor. And I remember at a young age, I was struggling, trying to figure things out after going through some of the challenges in my life. And, he saw that. And you could see when somebody is looking at you from a mentor or a coach's standpoint, and they could see someone that they could have an impact on. That's where he was to me. And he said, I can see you going through some things. I see you're struggling with some things. Let me talk to you for a little bit. And I remember when the Pastor Heron was there talking with me, he was trying to share his inspiration in regards to like life is going to be tough, but at that particular moment we're talking about putting your faith and trust in God. And for him just to kind of like share the word with me and reinforce some of the things in my belief and my faith, that was really inspirational for me just at a very young age. He also gave me the opportunity where I got a chance to speak in front of the church, where I get a chance to share my testimony of some of the things that I've been through in my life, which was pretty cool. Following that, I played high school football and I'm doing pretty well. Play with guys like Rohan Davey that went to go play at LSU, and he went to go be Tom Brady's backup in the NFL. And while I was there playing, I got injured my last 2 years in high school, and I tore my ACL and MCL back-to-back years. And I had an opportunity to go to University of Wisconsin to play football. And obviously, at that particular moment, I was not that well versed in regards to all of your other options. So the opportunity was taken away coming in regards to going to Wisconsin. And when that took place, I had a coach, and he came up to me, and it was Coach Stanley, and he was talking to me in regards to like me being dejected, me being down. And when I was in that rut of what I was going through, he's the one that kind of like put his arm around me and was like, "Hey, Michael, I've seen where you've come from. I've seen how you gritted and grinded throughout the whole football season. I see how you was here supporting your teammates when the season was still going on and you were injured. You showed me your character, and I know that character that you've built will take you a very far way. You could take this challenge, you could take this adversity and use that to be a catapult to the next thing you do in life." And that's exactly the mindset that he kind of like instilled in me, which led me to joining the Marine Corps. And I remember when I joined the Marine Corps and I'm going through boot camp, but obviously boot camp is challenging and boot camp is going to break you down to build you back up. But it taught me all of those things that I learned to like keep on pushing through and keep on persevering. And I remember that instinctively because I remember when after 9/11, I knew that we was going to go to war. We're going to go fight in Iraq. Prior to that, I'm there with my Gunnery Sergeant Kulak. And when I'm there with him, you know, he's preparing me, he's training me, and he's telling me all of these different stories, all of these situations that I could be prepared for. And I never really fully grasped it until I was there in the thick of it and in that moment. And I was his assistant while we're there in Iraq. And we're there in Iraq and we're going through different shootouts. We're going on different missions. We're going on different patrols. And while I'm there, he's still coaching me while we're still doing some of these things. But from a standpoint of like knowing that he's taught me well, he's coached me well in regards to me be prepared for any adversity, any challenge in the thick of things as we're there in a combat zone. And shortly after that, while we're there, he gets injured. And when he becomes injured, I become the section leader. And now it's my turn to lead our troops, lead our guys while we're there in the thick of it in combat. And this is in the moment where I realized this is why I got all these mentors, why I got all these coaches, why I was going through so many tough things, so many tough times in my life, because now it was preparing me for this moment and this situation to prove who I am.
Oh, that's awesome. And did you find that you had pressure to be like Sergeant, is it Kulak?
It was our Gunny Kulak. It was no
Gunny
pressure
Kulak.
to be like him. I felt like in the moment, he taught me so many things that drew out so much things out of me that I did not discover, that I did not know that I have inside of me. So what it did was truly help with my confidence in regards to knowing that I could do some of these great things that he had showed me how to do, taught me how to do, and actually just empowered me is what I would say that he did.
Okay, because I think sometimes when you have that mentor-mentee relationship, sometimes mentors are trying to make a clone of themselves. You know, they don't give the mentee the ability to be their own person, or they kind of move that part of them out. And so it's a clone. And so there can be some pressure when you step up into that role to kind of make it yours, to be, you know, hey, this is Michael's section now. You know, this is how he does it.
You're right. What I really liked was that in the military, you kind of get a chance, like things are structured, things are very standard, but individually, you get a chance to see what everybody's like. So you can kind of see when someone gets promoted from a PFC to a lance corporal to a sergeant to a staff sergeant, they start blossoming and they start becoming their own style of leader. And you got to see who does what, who does this better, those types of things. And I think for me, it gave me an opportunity to show my leadership skills and my leadership ability and how people gravitated towards me and how people decided to work with me and how I treat people too as well. Because when you get the chance to be put in a leadership role, it shows what type of leader you're going to become, what type of leader you are, how you can lead people and lead men in regards to some of the situations, circumstances that you're going to take them through as well. I think as a mentor, I think it's important for you to like let people grow, give them the freedom to blossom, and you're more so from the standpoint of like coaching them, kind of like you just see with like basketball players and football players. The coaches are there coaching you, giving you all of the skills and the knowledge, all the things to like make the best come out of you. And I think that's the importance of a mentor.
Oh, that well said. Did you find when you were going through Marines and the boot camp and some of your early training, looking backwards and being able to go, oh, this is why the football coaches were having us do this, or this is why we were, you know, having enough while you were a young man, being able to go, this is the lesson. This is what they were trying to get us to do.
Yeah, most definitely. I think about when I was there in boot camp and we come through Paris Island and you get on the bus and you get on the yellow footprints and they're rushing you and trying to get into the mind games and all those different things to kind of like see what you're made of. And as I was going through that, I recall just being in football practices and the coaches are just yelling at you. You're there in the summer, you're there for 2 days, and somebody's yelling at you, screaming at you, do this, do that, get up, run, up, down, push ups, sit ups, all those different things that's really like challenging you, see what you could do and see what you're made of. And in those moments, I tested, but now I could reflect on those times knowing that I've been through this. I could do this. I could actually accomplish this. And you find that throughout boot camp, those kind of things repeats itself. So I was faced with the challenge of swimming. I've never been swimming before in my life, don't even know how to swim, but this is a challenge. How can I get past this? Can I lock in? Can I get focused? Can I be consistent? Can I be disciplined and actually execute this and accomplish this? And when you have that mindset and that mentality, then you can actually progress through some of these things that are challenging you and push through some of these things as they're barriers, but it's really testing to see who you are. And I applied that to every single thing that I did in boot camp. I started in boot camp as one of the last guys that got there because I was not fast. I was not very well coordinated, but I had to figure things out. And when I started doing those things and applying that, I graduated boot camp as one of the top squad leaders in our platoon. So I know that if you implement some of these things that these coaches have taught you, either from my pastors, from my coaches in football, from some of the drill instructors that was drilling on you, it'll help you throughout those situations and any circumstance in life too as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think definitely. But you've also got to be open to it. And I think that's one of the things I'm hearing is that you had enough wisdom when you were a young knucklehead to open to those lessons, right? Because sometimes, and I've worked with scouts and high school kids and different things, some are open to taking that in, and then some, are not. They have to learn it a different way.
Yeah, you got to be receptive to it. I agree with you, man. I've been in circumstances and situations where I've come across people that are very hard-headed. People don't want to listen. People want to take this is my way or the highway. And unfortunately, those are the ones that either find themselves in bad circumstances or the outcome or the results is not always in their favor. And unfortunately, I personally believe that is tied to your upbringing and just some of the things that you've experienced in life. And it's not just also around like your parenting or anything like that. I could also lean towards more so your circumstances and situations. If I came up in a circumstance where trust was a very hard thing, it's going to be very hard for me to trust you based off some of the things that I've experienced in life. So people actually put their guards up. So this is where a mentor or a coach comes in and get a chance to know someone, understand what are some of the challenges that they're dealing with, for them to let down their guard for you to actually work with them. And I think this is important in work in regards to like the work that we do, to work with people, to find some of these things, to actually get them to start soaking up some of the things that you're trying to teach them and help them with, because we know that there is greatness in every single person. It's just for us to unlock that.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the Adversity Academy and some of the work you're doing now, I'd love for you to share with us maybe one of your leadership challenges and maybe one of your leadership victories that you had while you were in the Marines and maybe in Fallujah.
Yeah, definitely. I would say one of the challenges that I had is quite a few, man. But let me share with you two that's personal, very personal to me. I would say one of the first ones I had was when I was there in Fallujah, and I was working with this young man, and his name was Parenti. He's out of Texas. He was in another section of our platoon, as there were 3 sections in our platoon of the 4 tanks. And Parenti was an older guy, but Parenti had the challenge of people always putting limitations on him and always challenging him in regards to his mindset, his personality, and just tying those things to him as he's stupid, he's not valued, he's not worthy. And as people kept telling him those things, he started acting like it. He started believing those things. And the funny thing about this was that in our platoon, I found that I treated people with respect. And also, I was always taught to do things from more so of a servant leadership standpoint. And what was interesting with that was I did what I just told you. And I sat down with Parenti and I was talking with him and try to understand why does he think like this? And also, where does some of these things come from? And Parenti was assigned to be on my track now. So I was kind of like the sergeant that was trying to like I don't know if you back then we used to use the word of un-F, so I don't want to curse on your podcast. So I had to un-F him.
I got it.
So I had to fix him, and my gunny gave him to me. The sergeants gave him to me. It was like, if anybody could work on this guy and fix him, it's Sergeant Allison. At that time, I don't know if I really felt great about it or bad about it. It's just that, I looked at him as a human being. I'm going to treat him like a human being. I'm going to respect him. I'm going to care about him. And we're here in a combat zone, and now he's my responsibility. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to do my damnedest that he doesn't die on my watch, because everybody was kind of like, this guy here is just a F up. With that being said, I sat down Parenti at the back of my track, and I really got a chance to understand what was it like growing up as his childhood, and if he had any internal mental disabilities that nobody could fully see or aware of, those types of things. And as I got a chance to know Parenti, I really understand this guy is super, super smart, but he'll play down, or he'll play to whatever people thinks of him. So he needed somebody to uplift him. He needed somebody to empower him. He needed somebody to put confidence in him. And I started doing that slowly, giving him little things, and started giving him different responsibilities. And here's the thing, man. We go out on a patrol, and we're out on this patrol, and nothing is going on. And we're there sitting on the highway. And while we're there sitting on the highway, it gets to midnight. And we get there to midnight, and all of a sudden, RPG shoots over our tank. And it lands, and it misses us. They shoot another one. It misses us. And now we found him, we identify him, and we're getting ready to return fire. And we start just shooting back at this building. And as we're shooting back at this building, I run out of ammo. Guess who's there helping me reload? Parenti. Here you go, Sergeant. Here you go, Sergeant. And this is in the moment where I was like, this is one of the coolest moments I've ever had in my life, where I worked so much with this kid in regards to just letting him know that you're important, you're valued, and you're worthy. You have a role working with us in regards to our unit and the cohesion. And it was one of the coolest moments I could ever tell anybody, man, of when you pour into people, man, they'll show up for you. They'll show up for you. And Parenti showed up for me when I ran out of bullets. The next story I'll tell you is this. It's, as someone that served and someone that had the chance to serve with some pretty cool, resilient men, I was there in Iraq, and we're on our last mission. And while we were on this last mission, we get fired at by the Iraqis. They started dropping mortars on us. We started talking with the eye in the sky, and we eventually started talking with them, coordinated with them, and captured these guys that was actually trying to kill us. And we turned them in. And then we come back the next day to link back up with our unit. And as we're there linking back up with our unit, we're delivering supplies. So we're delivering the MREs, the waters, and some more ammo. And we're going counterclockwise. We pull up to the last vehicle, which is the Humvee that has my gunny, my best friend Salto, our doctor, and the gunner is Hernandez. And we pull from them, and 7 seconds later from that, man, I hear the loudest bomb explosion. And from this explosion, the shrapnel gashed me above the eye, tilted our tank, slams us down, knocks me out. And then on this tank, I had Castanelli, he was my assistant, and then I had Lowe, which was my driver. And in this moment, all this chaos is going on, bombs are going off, and you would think that, we might be scared, we might be terrified, we might be shook or something like that. And immediately Castanelli comes up and he grabs me and starts waving, Sergeant Allison, you okay, you okay? And we get out and we see what just took place. My gunnery sergeant, blood is coming out of his ears. The doctor, his legs is blown off. Hernandez, half of his face is gone. And my best friend Salto, man, he died. And his insides of his stomach was on the steering wheel of the Humvee that he was on. This hole that 500-pound car bomb leaves a crater in the ground. And in that moment, man, it's so shocking of what's taking place, and for your mind to try to process all those things that's taking place, and to see how people responded in regards to what we need to do next, how we need to get out of here, how we need to secure this area, how we need to take care of these guys, get the medevac, all of these different things, and responding to that. In the midst of chaos, all of our training, all of our preparation kicked in. There was no hesitation. There was no stumbling around trying to figure things out. And I think that's through great leadership from every single person that was a part of the unit, every single person that was on my track that helped get us through that situation. The situation was definitely unfortunate. But when you talk about in the midst of chaos, being in Iraq, being in combat, all the things that's taking place, is bombs going off, people shooting at you, all these different things that's taking places, and everybody's still responding and reacting in regards to how we operate. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that I love about the United States Marine Corps.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you had that training that kicks in, that repetition, those, building that muscle memory. a little bit. And even I would even say leadership memory, right? It's because you guys probably go through scenarios like if this happens, then this happens, and you play those things out. Nothing ever happens perfectly, and execution you can always go back and Monday morning quarterback. But at the same time, it's like you guys probably executed as well as just about anybody could.
Absolutely, man. So prior to that, when I was in Japan and I came from Japan, and I got to California, and we're getting ready to train out there in 29 Palms. And as we're training, that's when Captain Venning comes out and tells us, boys, it's our turn to go to Iraq. And from that moment, you talk about training, preparation of any circumstance, any situation. That's what we were doing in preparing for that moment. I know sometimes people always worry about or complain. Well, people that want to win don't complain about training or don't complain about putting in hard work. And we knew what was on the line for us. So we never complained or any of those things. And it truly showed up in the midst of those moments. And I say that as in like basketball players go out on the court and play for about 3 hours. But sometimes people don't see they're training a whole year. Some people don't see that they trained in high school. They had a basketball in their hands since they were 3 years old. So sometimes when you see the stories of the Michael Jordans and he's holding up the trophy and he's winning 6 championships, yeah, but he put in all that work from behind the scenes. He was doing, my friend of mine, Anthony Trucks, he calls it the dark work. He was doing the work behind the scenes in the dark that nobody got a chance to see. And that's what we were doing too as well.
Man, I love that phrase, dark work.
Yeah.
Man, I just, man, I'm going to have to borrow that one because it's so true. It's all that prep time. It's all the studying. It's all the hitting the books. It's the, all those people that walk out from business school or whatever with A's or whatever. You don't see the 20 hours of prep
Absolutely.
before the test, right? You don't see all that stuff. And it's just like, oh, well, so-and-so's just smart. And it's like, well, yeah, but there's a lot of dark work going on that you don't see.
Most definitely.
Hey, Michael, I'd love for you to tell us about your transition out of the Marines and into your leadership and leadership development coaching practice.
Yeah, definitely. So when I got out of the military, my transition was not the best, so I struggled a little bit and I was trying to navigate my life and try to figure things out. So I worked on a railroad for a little bit, but the beauty about that was I got a chance to work in leadership to see what good leadership is like, bad leadership was like, and actually see what training is like too as well. And then from there, I had a chance to go back to school, get my bachelor's degree in information security, got my master's degree in business. And I kind of got a taste of what it was like to actually like run your business, but kind of see things from an executive C-suite level. And then from there, after I finished school, I had a chance to go and work in Washington, D.C. And when I was in Washington, D.C., I became an IT project manager. And now I was working with people like your Colin Powell's. I had a chance to go work in Capitol Hill, work with some of Generous and Shecky, all those guys at that particular time in Washington, D.C. So I got a chance to see what things were like from a political standpoint, but got a chance to see how senior executives run things from a government standpoint. And as an IT project manager, I'm building and creating projects for multi-million-dollar projects all across the United States, some of them even overseas. One of the projects that I had a chance to work on was creating our leadership development program, and to sit in a room and understand what leaders are looking for when it comes to leadership development was priceless. And I had a chance to build and create what our senior executive training looks like there in Washington, D.C., when they have to go through training all of the time. So having that experience, having that knowledge, and being someone that was a part of a team that was creating these programs, and you talk about it from the curriculums to the technology that's tied into it, the assessments, you name it. And doing that, I really had a chance to apply all of the leadership skills that I learned in the military, from football, from my life experiences, working with different executives, and from their viewpoint, from their perspective of how they're looking at things and how they want to lead. In addition to that, I also was a instructor in Quantico. So I was teaching officers in Quantico how to actually be better leaders and actually how to implement some of the strategies that we did when we was in Iraq and in Fallujah, when we are faced with tough times, tough circumstances, and how to navigate things, how to figure things out. With that being said, when I created my company, the Adversity Academy, the name actually comes from when I've been through a whole bunch of adversities in my personal life that I could probably go deeper and diver into here. But that's where it came from. Then I wrote my book, Overcoming Adversity, Getting Your Life Back on Track. And after I wrote that book, had a chance to go do a TED Talk. and talked about some of the adversities and the challenges that I've been through in my life. And from there, I was always being asked or invited to come and talk about either my personal life, my stories. Could you take your story, could you take some of your experiences and turn them into programs or curriculums or workshops and things like that? So from that standpoint, I said, all right, well, I could take all of the knowledge and experience that I have. I could also put together a team of people and train them with some of the things that I would like to create from all of my experiences. And that's where the Adversity Academy came from in regards to the programs and the services that we started creating and developing for different individuals and for organizations too as well. So from the Adversity Academy, we have online programs for personal development, professional development, leadership development with all of our leadership matrix. And then we have in-person workshops. So being someone that saw that you need leadership development at every single level. And when I say that, I realized when I first came in on the railroad, I actually came in as a conductor. When I first joined the Marine Corps, I came in as a private, then as a PFC. When I first joined the football team, I came in as a freshman. So I've always seen what it was like leadership standpoint at a junior level. Then as I got promoted to middle management, I saw what leadership was like from a different level. And then once I got put into a senior executive position, I saw what leadership looked like from a different level. So I said, let me create programs and curriculums for all three levels within a company, within an organization where I know that it's going to make sense. And that's where the Adversity Academy came in, where we have the in-person training and we have the online training too as well.
Wow. Wow. That's quite a bit. And I could totally geek out with you about the IT project management stuff, because that's my background as well. Although I've been in mostly supply chain and logistics implementations, but you know how it goes. Everybody loves you day one, and by day two, they want to choke you.
That's right, man. That's right.
But no, it's great. And what is interesting to me, I mean, since we kind of brought it up, is that PM role actually sees a couple of different departments. Typically, you've got to build relationships and know what's valuable to the senior stakeholders, whether internal or external, and be able to navigate that and be able to do it. You know, give them reassurance that their reputations, their money, everything's going to be okay eventually. Not right now. Don't look at what we're doing right now. Eventually it's going to work. You know, we'll make it work.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You know, last week I was speaking with Microsoft, and I was talking to them about the topic we were talking about was about diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I was sharing with them around being an IT project manager and working with different stakeholders and different people all across the globe. As an IT project manager, and you're working on projects with people on different time, different companies, different language barriers, all these different things that you're taking into consideration for this one common goal, for this one project. And I don't know if this is the right saying, but kind of like if you're sitting at the top looking at every single person, you have all of these different egos, all of these different personalities, all of these things that you have to kind of like massage. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta do all of these different things as an IT project manager as you're there getting information and still working towards a common goal. And the beauty of that is when I think about it is I take all of the experience as a football player and being a captain on the team, and you got to deal with all of your teammates. Then I joined the military and I got to deal with guys like Parenti and other guys that sit in my platoon, right?
Right.
You apply all of these different things, and I got a chance to work on the railroad and supervising over 210 employees on the railroad. And there's so much to that dynamic too as well, man. So having that experience throughout my experience was truly phenomenal. That led to the IT project management aspect of things.
Sure. In your opinion, as a leadership development and a trainer, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges? And I'll just say, maybe give us the top two challenges you think leaders have, either becoming and stepping into that leadership role the first time, or just as an existing person with the title where maybe they're not the leader they want to be yet.
I would say two things. So I'll answer the last question first. And a lot of leaders sometimes get put into role and they have their imposter syndrome, or they may have some limiting beliefs in regards to like, am I fully, truly capable of actually executing this role in leading people? And it could become overwhelming for them. And that's where people like myself, our team, comes in, and we coach leaders in regards to getting past some of these things and letting them know that they have all the tools and capability, or else you would not be in the seat that you're in. So we coach them through some of those things that could be mentally challenging them. And we just have to pull those leadership skills out of them in regards for them to lead and execute exceptionally well in front of their teams. That also comes with some empathy too as well, because sometimes in those positions they may feel that if I show or say that I don't know as much or I'm not as capable as much, they might feel that they might be insequential to their team and they're not a good leader too as well. Actually, when you show that level of vulnerability and transparency with your team, still showing that you have authority, still with that, that actually goes a long way too as well. The next challenge that I do find for leaders is the change management standpoint. And whenever new changes, new things come into place, and you're trying to change mindsets, you're trying to change vision, you're trying to change different things in a company or organization that you're trying to implement, you could have some resistance with that. And that's where we come into as well. And we actually coach and train and do different things where we can start implementing, especially using project management training and things like that, where you're doing different things in different iterations, where you could actually help with change management too as well.
I love that you said that, because that was one of the things within the industry that I found. And even the organization that I worked with previously had found, to the point where they developed a change management team, that they would actually sell like change management to our customers. So they would be, the customer would be implementing this big thing. And, you know, large organizations, they do big changes every few years, where as leaders, we do that. Like, we're running 3-4 different projects at a time. And so they don't know about communication. How do you get buy-in? How do you tell people, yes, this will be disruptive, but it'll be better on the other side of this? Because everybody is very nervous when it comes to change, especially in a professional setting.
Most definitely, man. That's the one of the toughest things when it comes to buy-in and changing people's mindset. Or if you want to even go into some of the things that could be tied to like the identity of what we look like to what we're trying to change it to now, in regards to like perception that's out there. But you know, it's changing the mindset to having people having different like perspectives and viewing things from a different standpoint. And if they don't see it, they can't believe it, right? So that's where you got to come in and actually like start painting a different picture. And you could really just truly do that with a great leader, though. A leader that could share a vision that everybody could follow and everybody could believe in those types of things is actually going to get the ball moving. I always share this, you know, if you're going to have change management, the buying, if you're going to have people that are frontline, middle management, it has to come from the top. The senior leaders is going to have to lead that charge, lead that movement in regards to getting people to start galvanizing towards that one mission or that one vision too as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's crucial for any kind of leader. Is you've got to be the one that's an early adopter of whatever's going on, whatever
Absolutely.
that changes, whether it's accounting software or whatever. You've got to be the one that's using it and actually logging in. Because if other people see you're still on the old system, they're not going to believe the hype that you're trying to sell, right? You got to be authentic in that regard.
Yeah, you can forget about it.
Michael, tell me about what's your ideal kind of client, whether it comes to delivering a keynote speech, and then maybe an ideal client where you're coming in and working on leadership development.
Yeah, ideal clients. So you know my background is in the IT space. I've worked with some tech companies, like we just worked with Microsoft. I've worked with companies that's in the transportation space, and I've also worked in a hospital. So I also work with companies that have hospital teams, predominantly teams that outsource their leadership development training. So they're not doing some of those things in-house, and they ask for a company, they ask for a coach, they ask for someone to come in and work with their teams or their individuals to help them with some of their leadership development training. So that's the customers that we ideally work with that's looking to outsource their training and leadership development from that standpoint. In regards to the keynote, you know, so I have two keynotes. The keynote that I deliver is called Break the Bottle. And the Break the Bottle is tied to how we could change our identity that leads to peak performance for our companies, for our teams, for our organization. And when you think about it, when I give the keynote, it's taught through the framework of 3Ds: decision, direction, and destination. And what are some things that we are individually bottling on the inside, or for our companies or organization that we keep it on the inside, and how could we break that and shatter that and get to our peak performance? And you could think about it from a personal standpoint. Many of us bottle in anxiety, our depression, our sadness, our grief, our guilt. And how could we actually break that and get past that? And the truth of the matter is that I also share on stage is that we bottle in our happiness, our joy, our peace of mind. So all of these different things that we're trying to get past. So we apply those concepts and principles for that particular keynote as I take you through my stories and some of the the proven research that we've done to help people shatter some of these limiting beliefs that's tied to themselves or their organizations too as well. And then the other keynote that I deliver is called the Unleadership. And the Unleadership is talking about all the things that I just shared with you about leadership, but looking at it from a untraditional standpoint of leaders could be at the first level of your organization. It does not have to be from the CEO standpoint. It could be from at different levels in your company when you give people leadership roles and tasks. And I go through the frameworks and the stories, and especially when I talk about leadership, is when my train crew is running a train and it's three of them on a train, they're leaders on that train. When I'm in the Marine Corps and we're out there in Fallujah, Iraq, and Corporal Combs was getting shot at, and he has Lance Corporal, a Marine that's only been in the Marine Corps 2 or 3 years, but this Lance Corporal has it inside of him, the training inside of him, the leadership skills inside of him to save his life. That's what we're talking about with the young leadership, that anybody at any given level can become a leader. You don't have to think that just the person at the top of a company organization is the sole leader. So we go through different leadership principles and concept for our keynote.
That's awesome. And what's the best way people could get in touch with you if they're looking for a speaker or even a leadership engagement?
Definitely. So if you're looking for me as a speaker, you could go to michaelwallison.com. You'll find all of my keynotes there, and you can book me from there, or just reach me from an email, mallison@theadversityacademy.com. In regards to our leadership training for my company and for my team is www.theadversityacademy.com, and all social media is I am Michael W. Allison.
Okay, awesome. And we'll be sure to put those in the show notes for this episode as well. Michael, is there anything about leadership in Adversity Academy that I haven't asked you or we haven't touched on that you would like to mention before we wrap this up?
Man, I think you did a phenomenal job with this interview, man. I think we covered every single thing, man. Thank you.
All right, project manager to project manager. We're green all the way.
I appreciate it, Greg. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much. And hang on, say goodbye off there.